So जब वो ड्राफ्ट रेजोल्यूशन प्रेजेंट होता है, एज एन टेबल होता है, जब उसको हम लोग डिस्प्ले करते हैं, वी डिस्कस अपॉन इट एंड सी अगर उसको पास करना है कि नहीं। जिन डेलीगेट्स ने, और टू बी मोर प्रिसाइज, जिन कंट्रीज ने प्रेजेंट एंड वोटिंग बोला था, only they will have a say to pass it or to abstain it or to fail it and things like that. All right, is that understood by everyone, the difference between present and voting? All right, perfect. So after we are done with the roll call, the first thing that we move forward is with our GSL. GSL stands for General Speakers List. It's, you can say it's a complex name for कि किस order में आप लोग अपने opening statements देंगे. GSL is just a complex word for opening statements. कि जो agenda है, for a brief 90 seconds, you guys will have to give your country's opinions and stance on the agenda. जो आपकी GSL speech हम घर से prepare करके लाएंगे based on the countries that are going to be allotted to you by tonight, I guess, or by early morning tomorrow. तो GSL हर डेलीगेट को 90 सेकेंड्स बोलना कंपलसरी नहीं होता है. सो फॉर एग्जांपल, आई एम रिप्रेजेंटिंग यूएसए जस्ट फॉर इंस्टेंस, एंड मेरा जो GSL स्पीच है वो 40 सेकेंड्स या 60 सेकेंड में कंप्लीट हो जाता है, एंड क्लॉक में अभी भी 30 सेकेंड्स बाकी थे. तो व्हाट डू वी डू विद दैट? सो उसमें आप लोग के पास 3 ऑप्शंस रहते हैं. फर्स्ट is that you can yield your time to another delegate, to another country. कि for example, मेरे पास पहले से कनाडा ने आके बोले होगा कि if my speech gets over कितने भी seconds, 5, 10, 15, whatever seconds before, can you give that excess time to me for my speech? So that gives you a chance to speak more in your GSL. कि आप लोग की speech अगर 90 seconds से ज़्यादा की हो रही होगी, so you guys can extend your time in that way. That is by yielding your time or getting the yielded time from someone else. Second is that you can yield your time to the executive board, that is me, कि I'll be the one who will decide कि ये जो बचे कुछ 30 सेकंड है इसका क्या करना है, एंड बेस्ड ऑन कि हमारे पास कितना टाइम है, कमिटी कितना फास्ट जा रही है, या फिर टाइम कंस्ट्रेंट है, उस बेसिस पे हम लोग या तो नेक्स्ट स्पीकर को मूव ऑन कर देंगे और Alright, I'm sorry for the disturbance. Where was I?
Yield to the chairs.
Yeah, so by yielding the time to me, it will be up to me what I want to do with the time. Key. And the third way is that you can yield your time to POIs. Okay, so what POIs are? Again, POI or point of information, the full form of POI, is another complex word that is used for questions. कि by using a POI is कि आपको किसी और delegate से question पूछना है. Alright. So since we are speaking of points, there are 4 major points. First, point of order. Second, point of information. Third, point of personal privilege. Hello. Alright, point of personal privilege. Fourth, point of parliamentary inquiry. Alright. So in 4 points ka, I'll give you the gist. Point of order. Ki for example, I am USA. Let's keep me as USA for this meeting to set an example. मैंने अपनी स्पीच में कोई factually inaccurate चीज बोल दी. For example, मैंने अपनी स्पीच में कहीं mention कर दिया कि India has a literacy rate of 5%, जबकि इंडिया का literacy rate is something else. So after I'm done with my speech, अगर किसी और country की किसी delegate को कोई factual inaccuracy identify होती है, for example, अगर in the delegate of India, themselves stand up, or the delegate of say Israel stands up and says key point of order, they'll have to state it. Key point of order, the delegate of USA quote said the literacy rate in India is X%. unquote, whereas the literacy rate in India is this. So you correcting someone else's factual inaccuracy in their speeches is also something that's going to score you plenty of marks. So this is point of order. Second, as I explained, point of information कि मैंने अभी अपनी स्पीच खत्म की है and the chair allows for POIs. तो जिस भी डेलीगेट को कोई भी क्वेश्चन पूछना रहेगा स्ट्रिक्टली टू द स्पीच, ऐसा नहीं कि आप कुछ भी क्वेश्चन पूछ ले. POIs are strictly intended to be based on what you spoke in your speech. उस बेसिस पे you guys can ask POIs. Third point of personal privilege is कि like आपको कॉल लेना है. For example, you are receiving a call from someone, आपको washroom जाना है, you guys need to drink water or something, or you guys want to leave the committee for 5-10 minutes or something like that. So you guys raise your placard in that sense in that given time. Alright. Fourth point of parliamentary inquiry. So एक जो हमने GSL हम लेते हैं उसमें, for example, when the motion is set for the committee, once the committee begins, you guys will be asked to raise your placards and उसमें एक random order में हम order decide करेंगे कि ये country के बाद this country is gonna give their speeches and things like that. So उस चीज में, for example, if you guys have doubts regarding the committee कि for example lunch कितनी देर में होने वाला है और say कि after how many speakers is your turn gonna be and things like that, that is something for which you guys can use a point of parliamentary inquiry. Alright? And there's one more thing where that's very rarely used in a UN committee, that is right to reply. For example, I am USA and Canada या फिर for instance Russia ने अपनी speech में कुछ बहुत controversial बोल दिया against me. USA supports some XYZ extortion or things like that, that actually disrespects or disharmonizes the state of my nation. In that case, I can ask for a right to reply, and instead of asking for in right to reply, you guys are not intended to ask questions, but to reply to the insult that you guys have faced in another delegate's speech. Are all of these points clear for everyone? Alright, wonderful. Okay, so coming back to where we were initially, GSL. GSL is basically your opening statement जिसमें आप अपने stands देते हैं, you give your opinion on the agenda, you can maybe criticize some other country जिसमें वो particular agenda से related बहुत सारी problems चल रही हैं. Things like that. For example, कि Israel-Palestine is currently facing this and they're not ready to tackle it and things like that based on the agenda. So that is something you guys can mention in your speeches as well. And GSL is basically a never-ending list. अगर GSL खत्म हो जाती है, that means the committee is over. So how we move forward with it is कि हम एक बार में 5 GSLs ही recognize करेंगे. For example, 5 लोग recognize हुए by raising their placards in the committee. वो 5 लोग अपनी order में GSL देंगे, and then we'll move with a moderated caucus. Coming to a moderated caucus, I'm assuming that all of you are aware with what the agenda for the committee is. So what a moderated caucus does is that it puts a small bracket on the discussion. For example, the agenda hai, that's a very vast and huge spectrum to discuss upon. So in a moderated caucus, we pick a small specific subgenre of that topic to find solutions for. Again, I haven't mentioned this before, but just for your knowledge, United Nations committees are strictly intended to be solution oriented. For instance, कि हम लोग वहाँ बैठे हैं to find solutions for the problems that we are discussing, not just to keep on discussing the problems. सिर्फ ये नहीं होता है UN committee में कि सिर्फ problem state हुए जा रही हैं and there are no solutions that are coming forward for it. So, in a moderated caucus, for example, there's a specific format for a moderated caucus, and I'd like you guys to write it down, please. Like, I'm giving you guys a minute to please grab your pen and paper and things like that to write this format down.
प्रतीक आहे खाली. अरे दार लाव ना. दरवाजा उघडून तू काम करके तोड़ दे
कौन का
तुम्ही तर असं लागून द्या ना कॉल कर
Alright, so the format goes कि I, the delegate of United Nations, and for you guys it's gonna be a bracket कि आपकी जो country रहेगी वो आप बोलोगे. I, the delegate of X country, would like to end the formal debate and move into a moderated caucus
हॅलो हॅलो
for the topic being
अबे हो आलोच आहे मीटिंग आली एक मदत
for the topic
Meeting
being
वाली
में
मदद.
आप लोग को then वहाँ पे एक bracket में मतलब for instance ऐड करना पड़ेगा कि आप लोग को सब genre क्या चाहिए. It should be linked
तुझं
or
झालं का जेवण
a part of the agenda. Alright, for the topic being
हा अभिजित येतोय खाली
XYZ
सांगा.
with per speaker time being
8329
X seconds
62
and total time being Y minutes. So for example अगर per speaker time 60 decide होता है तो जो total time being है वो for example 15 minutes decide होता है, so it should be something that is exactly divisible by the number of seconds with respect to the number of minutes decided. I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say.
141 मध्ये
Alright, perfect. And ऐसा नहीं है कि and also for example 2 या 3 या 4 delegates ने एक साथ moderated caucus के topics raise किए. So in that case what the thing is कि एक moderated caucus ऐसा नहीं कि अगर मैंने बोल दिया तो वही moderated caucus होगा, and technically committee में आप लोग topic suggest करोगे for a moderated caucus. So in that you guys will be required to do a voting procedure, and since there are 15 delegates in our committee, to pass any specific agenda, to pass any motion, any sort of motion in the committee, we'll be requiring a majority of 8 votes. That is half plus 1, I believe, which is going to be 8, technically 51% for the committee. So for example अगर मैंने एक moderated caucus का topic raise किया and वो motion pass नहीं होता है, so in that case we'll vote upon the further agenda that was proposed. ऐसे करते करते जब तक एक पर्टिकुलर एजेंडा हम लोग पास नहीं कर लेते फॉर अ मॉडरेटेड कॉकस मोशन, जब तक पास नहीं होता है, till then we keep on voting. And the thing is कि at times what happens is कि delegates जानबूझ के एक मोशन को पास नहीं होने देते because they think कि I am not well prepared for this particular mod topics, so instead I will wait for something else to come up. But don't worry about it. The minute a moderated caucus का topic passes, a motion passes, we will move the committee to an unmoderated caucus. Unmod में क्या होता है? It's basically 10 or 15 minutes of free time for you guys, जिसमें आप research करके अपनी speeches को frame कर सकते हो before beginning with the session again. Is that understood by everyone else? And the format, as in the verbatim for the unmod, is also similar to the moderated caucus. I believe you guys can figure it out. Alright. So one more thing is that, for example, मैंने एक speech दी and it was so controversial कि 10 delegates को मुझसे questions पूछने हैं, which of course we cannot entertain. So in that case, जो बचे हुए लोग रहेंगे, that wanted to ask the question, they can use a facility called chits, जिसका format मैं आप लोग को बता दूंगा. So basically chits are basically what they are called. आप लोग को अपने questions या फिर जो आपसे दूसरे delegates ने questions पूछे हैं उनके answers via chit भेजने पड़ेंगे. एक piece of paper पे आप लिख के देंगे, that will come to me, I'll read it, I'll mark it, and then it will go on to the person it was intended for, so that we can save some time as well, and आप लोग, and so that you guys don't lose on your scoring opportunity. Alright, so moving on, we'll have a GSL, 5 GSL, then we'll have a moderated caucus topic, then we'll have 5 GSLs, then a mod topic, then a 5 GSLs, then a mod topic, and followed by a draft resolution, which is the paperwork for the committee. So coming towards the draft resolution, what a draft resolution is इट्स बेसिकली कि हम लोग ने दिन भर में कमिटी में क्या किया है बेस्ड ऑन दैट जो ब्लॉक्स होते हैं. For example, in a UN, in United Nations, there are blocks like the BRIC, Brazil, Russia, Australia, things like that. Alliances, to be more specific. So उस basis पे आप लोग 2 से 3 blocks बनाएंगे and आप लोग जो भी हम लोग ने discussion किया, since I mentioned that our committee is solution oriented, हम लोग discussion इसलिए कर रहे हैं क्योंकि हमारे discussions में एक spectrum of solution दिखाई देना चाहिए. So in order for that, जो हम लोग ने discuss किया है एक draft resolution का format होता है, which you guys can look up on the web for. वो format में you guys will have to state कि these are the possible solutions that should be implemented by the United Nations कि हम लोग को ऐसा एक draft resolution pass करना चाहिए जो सब countries को अपने nation में implement करना चाहिए to tackle this crisis going on in their borders and things like that. And जिस भी again same जैसे 2 अलग-अलग draft resolutions आएंगे, both will be tabled, both will be shared to the delegates who weren't part of that particular draft resolution as well, and उस पे फिर होगी voting. And based on कि किसका draft resolution pass होता है, once one of the draft resolution gets passed, the committee gets over peacefully, and just in case a draft resolution is not passed, the committee is set to be declared a failed committee, as in कि committee fail हो जाती है. Not that it means quite literally what it sounds like, but yes. Are there any doubts by any delegates? Please feel free. I'm done with my explanation of how the committee will go. Yes, Shruti.
Are we allowed to pass chits? I mean, use chits?
Yes, you guys are allowed to use chits. For example, if you want me to read the chit, you guys are gonna write via EB on the chit. And if you guys don't want me to read the chit, as in you guys are discussing something amongst yourself or a further speech or things like that, that you think is not something that you want to be marked for or something that is not mark worthy, you guys can send, transfer it amongst yourself. And one more thing is that delegates are not allowed to use any sort of artificial intelligence referring to ChatGPT and things like that. You guys are allowed to use internet mid-committee, but nothing more than that, please. Yes, Gia.
Okay, the chits that are being passed, so like if a delegate passed me a chit that he's pointing out to something, some issue or something, can I address that into my speech?
Can you please elaborate? I did not really get your question.
Okay, so if any delegate passes me a chit written like some of the things that like he's clearing up the air or like answering some of my questions. For example, I just questioned out a particular delegate and he passes me a chit regarding an answer about to my question. And then I just read it, and again in my speech later on, I feel like to address what he has written, and I feel like that's something wrong that he has mentioned in his chit. So can I just address that?
I understood. So you guys have to continue that same conversation via chat only. For example, if the delegate asked you a question, you answered the question, he asks you a follow-up question, so वो follow-up question won't necessarily be in verbal format. You guys will have to continue it via chat itself. And जो भी chat है वो मेरे through ही आएगी, तो don't worry, आप लोग को उसके भी equivalent marks मिलते हैं.